What's going on, guys? Jada Black here. Shout out to everybody that is tuning in. I want to talk about Steve Smith, former NFL wide receiver. Steve Smith. He's in bad shape right now because he's going through it. He's posting motivational posts about positive self-talk, and it has a lot to do with the fact that he's being sued by a woman that he had an affair with last year by the name of Nicole Martinez. Her husband, Antonio Martinez, apparently put out messages and also put out a recording of him calling Steve Smith to confront him about messing around with his wife. And in the phone call, Steve Smith apparently said that he was sorry. There are people that were trying to say, well, that's not Steve Smith. Yes, it was. Come on, people. Stop. Come on. The guy put everything out there, and now he's suing Steve Smith. And, Steve Smith is a guy who's been with his wife for a very long time. They have a lot of children together, and we haven't heard any type of cheating scandal when it comes to Steve Smith. He's always been a guy that handled his business. He always was a feisty football player, and he's been on the NFL Network for a little while now after his retirement. And he decided, or the NFL Network decided to send him to do a video with the Baltimore Ravens marching band. And that's how he met her. This was back in September of last year. So September of last year, he sent to do this. And that's when he met Nicole, who, by the way, speaking of Nicole and her husband, I believe they had only been together since 2020? They met during the pandemic. So this marriage hasn't been a long one. So maybe in her mind, she owed no loyalty or faith, monogamy to Antonio, which is why he is suing for alienation of affection. The homewrecker law in North Carolina. North Carolina is a very weird place. You know what I'm saying? Some parts of it is liberal, but it can be conservative, or it's a melting pot of these elements that have brought this together. And now we have Steve Smith being caught up in this, a man again who's been with his wife, I believe, since he was in college. There has been no cheating scandals in it, but that's what happens when the thirst gets to you. I don't know what's going on in his marriage. I don't know what would make him go and do this assignment and then go from doing the assignment to having an affair with this woman. I don't know what made Steve Smith Sr. go and do this. I mean, what was it about this woman that made you want to have an affair with her? Now, I will say this, though. The side woman, because that's what she is, she has similarities to his wife. I think him and they both look like they're about the same age. Maybe he just, had a moment of weakness, but it's an affair that carried on for months to the point to where he's knocking out IUDs. Let's get into the commentary. Steve Smith Sr., former NFL wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers and the Baltimore Ravens, is now being sued by a man who confronted him for an alleged affair with his wife. Per the New York Post, it says Anthony Martinez, but I think they call him Antonio, filed a lawsuit against Smith seeking over $100,000 in damages under North Carolina's homewrecker law, which allows a spouse to sue the person they believe is responsible for the breaking up of their marriage. Filed in Mecklenburg County Superior Court, the case is determined to prove that Martinez's marriage still had genuine affection before Smith's alleged interference. Well, a lot of people believe this when there's infidelity. That woman had probably been checked out of this marriage for a while now. That's why it was so easy for Steve Smith to be able to woo her. She had an opportunity to be around an NFL player. If your wife really cared about you, Anthony, she wouldn't have got with Steve Smith. She wouldn't have. But she had checked out of the marriage. And the thing is, they hadn't even been married that long. But for her to go 2 feet into this affair lets me know that she had already been checked out. And maybe he doesn't believe that. Maybe he believes that everything was good. Maybe on his end, he can show, well, up until they started having an affair, things changed, because maybe that's why he went through her phone. He probably went through her phone and saw that she was speaking to Steve Smith because some things had changed. Maybe she didn't want to have relations like that anymore, right? I mean, again, if Steve Smith is rearranging her insides, it may cause some tension in that marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, why doesn't she want to do these things? Why every time she's around me, she doesn't, she's not as intimate. And men notice that. We are not dumb. We notice these things, which is why he had to go and find out what was going on. And he was able to look through her phone and see that she was having some sort of relationship with Steve Smith. But I will say this to Anthony. I mean, your wife had been checked out. That's what it looks like to me. The initial revelation came to light in February when Martinez shared screenshots of explicit messages allegedly exchanged between Smith and his wife, Nicole, from an X account bearing Martinez's name. The since-deleted images quickly began circulating on social media. And things, however, got crazy when Martinez attempted to phone Smith directly to confront him. "You've been effing my wife, bro," Martinez could be heard saying during the heated exchange, to which Smith allegedly responds with a simple "I'm sorry." However, the voice that sounded like Smith Sr. fell silent for the rest of the call as Martinez continued to berate him for his actions, telling him to man up and take full responsibility for his alleged behavior. Listen, bro, listen. At the end of the day, you can be upset with Steve Smith all you want to, but your wife decided to have an affair. She could have said no. Tony, your wife could have said no, but she didn't. She said yes. See, women curve men all the time. Why didn't she curve Steve Smith? Not only because, she'd be cheating on her husband, but Steve Smith is a married man. He's a married man. And that still didn't bother her to the point to where she engages in this. So I think that the most responsibility for this is your wife. Your wife is the most responsible, not Steve. Yes, Steve plays a part into it, but she had the opportunity to say no, and she didn't. And now you're suing Steve Smith. According to the lawsuit, the two first crossed paths when Smith visited Nicole's job with the Baltimore Ravens marching band to film a September episode of his show, The NFL's Most Interesting Jobs with Steve Smith. Following the alleged scandal, the controversy caught the attention of Shannon Sharpe and Chad Ochocinco Johnson, who both weighed in on their Nightcap podcast. "You never confront the individual because Steve Smith owes you no loyalty," Johnson said, with Sharpe in agreement. "You talk to your wife, you check your wife, understand who you're marrying. Human nature is undefeated." And that is coming from the Nightcap podcast. Ultimately, again, most of the blame should go to the wife. But he's suing Steve because he wants to make some money on top of that. I want to know if this guy is going to actually divorce his wife. Are you going to divorce this woman who is the reason why we are here? Because he could have simply chose to walk away. Or she could have chosen to walk away from him. But she did not. Because she checked out of the marriage, bro. And y'all hadn't even been married that long. She checked out. She got an opportunity to link up with a former NFL player, because remember, she works for the Baltimore Ravens. She's around these athletes, not a lot, but she's at the stadiums and probably at events as well. She's always wanted to be with one, and she got an opportunity to do so. And again, I know he's angry, so he's going to be more angry at Steve. But bro, your wife is the one that made the choice. She said yes. She could have said no, but she said yes. And that's why we got to the situation we got here. And now let me show y'all what Steve put on social media. Steve put this on social media. This according to Yahoo. I'm going to read this excerpt. It says on Saturday, May 3rd, Smith appeared to indirectly address the lawsuit on Instagram. The conversations in our heads can help or hurt you. Positive self-talk is a real thing. Learning to get back to doing that more. Hashtag let them. Hashtag let me. Hashtag TGIF. Hashtag Agent 89. He captioned a meme that reads fear. FEAR has two meanings. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. Now, those are good affirmations, right? And listening to that clip of Steve being confronted and him apologizing, I think that he did regret that, because again, he's a married man too. And he wouldn't want to have to be in that situation where he's caught up with, his wife is caught up with somebody. He wouldn't want to be in that situation. And maybe it went further than he wanted to. Maybe it was just going to be a quick little, link up that went longer than it needed to. That's why a lot of you dudes got to be careful. At the end of the day, we're always going to take the most blame. People are going to always look at us and say, you should do this, you should do that, even though this woman could have said no, but she said yes. So let me know what y'all think in the comments section. Let me thoughts like the video and share. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'll see y'all next one.